Start the live stream.
All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome. This is the Energy and Environmental Committee. It is Friday, September 11th, 2020, at about 9:03, and I just ask that sometime today you take a moment of silence for all the lives that we lost on this date in 2001. So it's quite a tragedy, and so anyway, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll call for attendance.
Oh, I'm sorry. We'll do roll call first.
Weber? Allen? Ferrero?
Guerrero here.
Hernandez?
Here.
Thank you. Hernandez?
Here.
Caius?
Can you hear me?
Caius present.
Sanchez?
Sanchez here.
Sanchez?
Sanchez here.
Thank you.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes, moved by Mr. Caius, second by Mr. Weber. All in favor, or we'll take any comments or questions about the minutes? Okay, who is that?
Not sure.
Okay. Any questions or comments on the minutes? Okay, we'll have a roll call to approve.
Weber?
Yes.
Ferrero?
Yes. Guerrero,
Hernandez?
yes.
Caius?
Caius, yes.
Hernandez
Sanchez.
is here.
Thank you. What a key. Okay.
Yes. All right, minutes are
Sanchez,
approved.
yes.
He's in.
Did you get Sanchez? Okay. All right, now, next we have under environmental. Jody, do you want to explain anything, or otherwise we'll just move on? And
Yes, we have one resolution in front of you this morning on authorizing an exception to the county's financial policies regarding personnel and hiring. This is for the replacement of our resource management coordinator. So we would request approval of this resolution. Thank you.
okay, I'll entertain a motion to move this on to the Finance Committee. Moved by Mr. Caius, second by Mr. Weber. Any discussion, any questions? Okay, we'll take a roll call.
Weber?
Yes.
Ferrero?
Guerrero, yes.
Hernandez?
Yes.
Caius?
Caius, yes.
Sanchez?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
thank you. Motion passes. Okay, moving on, we have a presentation, Dark Skies, and a guest speaker, Adam Cruiser, who's a delegate. Any comments from Jody? No?
I have an introduction
Oh, Jennifer?
for Adam.
You bet.
Yes, so Jessica, so Jessica had organized Adam to come and speak to us about Dark Skies. He's a delegate with the International Dark Sky Association. He's presented to numerous organizations and is scheduled to present a seminar through the Morton Arboretum on September 17th and a seminar through the Kane County Forest Preserve District on October 6th as well. The International Dark Sky Association leads the way globally in the mission to preserve the night. Light pollution affects not only our ability to see the night sky, but the well-being of our wildlife, plant life, and human health. Thanks for coming, Adam. It's all yours.
Thank you, Jody. Thanks for having me. Typically, what I would do is a presentation that might last 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 60 minutes, but I understand that I'm pretty much limited to 10 to 15 minutes. So just briefly, I am a recent delegate to the International Dark Sky Association. I'm the only delegate out this way. The other 3 delegates in the area are in Chicago. I've been doing this for about 6 months now, and I think we're making a lot of progress. Recently, I presented to the DuPage County Environmental Commission, and if at some point in time we can collaborate and maybe work together, the 2 counties, that would be terrific. So I do have a PowerPoint, and we're only going to go through basically 1 or 2 slides, and I'm going to just show a short video so that all of you can kind of get a flavor of what I'm addressing. So the first slide is who we are. The International Dark Sky Association is a 501c3. It's been effective for I think almost 30 years now. If we can go to the next slide. It works globally. We have offices throughout the world. We reach every state here in the United States. We have international dark sky municipalities. We have international dark sky places. Maybe some of you have heard of them. They're actually becoming tourist attractions more recently, especially now with COVID. People are looking to try to get outdoors with less people. So if we can go to the next slide, please. Let's just show this video. If you can watch it real quick, it's about a 6-minute video, and then I'll hit some important issues and I'll say goodbye.
Does it have audio?
Good.
Okay.
It does have audio. I know it has audio. I watched it this morning. And we should be hearing it.
Not hearing anything. Audio. Yeah, I'm not getting audio from.
It doesn't look like we're going to get audio.
One second.
Now, even
Start over.
All right, thank you.
we live on the surface of a planet spinning on its axis once every 24 hours. Its rhythms of day and night are embedded in the biological makeup of all life. During the day, we bathe in the glow of the sun. As night approaches, darkness takes over. It's a time to rest, to rejuvenate, to marvel at the beauty of the night. Until just over a century ago, our night skies were very dark. Now, even the wilderness is invaded by light. Our cities glow at night. Buildings are lit up. Unshielded lights blind us as we travel along our streets and roads. All these artificial lights overpower the darkness. The waste of energy is obvious, even from space. Much of that yellow glare the astronauts see comes from streetlights. They produce most of the light pollution on the planet. The glare is scattered by the atmosphere, creating sky glows over the landscape. We are losing the dark of night at the speed of light. Light pollution threatens the health of every living thing on Earth. Lights at night disrupt plant growth. Unshielded lights contribute to the deaths of countless land and sea animals each year. Migrating birds crash into illuminated buildings. Newly hatched sea turtles mistake the glow of electric lights for the shimmer of the ocean's surface. Bright lights at night also directly affect humans. Drivers and pedestrians temporarily blinded by poorly designed lights have suffered tragic accidents. Light pollution poses a silent threat to our health. Exposure to light at night disrupts the circadian rhythms that regulate our sleep cycles. People working at night under bright lights or living in light-polluted cities face a higher risk of developing diseases such as breast and prostate cancer. Here is a night sky with typical light pollution. On a good night, only the brighter stars and planets pierce the glow. This is what the night sky might look like if we could remove the light pollution. That faint band of light stretching across the sky is the Milky Way, our home galaxy. Because of light pollution, many people have never seen it. Astronomers know all too well the problems caused by lighting up the night. They need clear, dark skies to study the many fascinating objects in the universe. Light pollution simply washes out their view of the cosmos. Lighting up the night sky wastes money and fossil fuels. To keep a 100-watt light bulb turned on every night for a year takes the equivalent energy output from burning half a ton of coal. Multiplied by the billions of lights blazing up from Earth, the cost of energy we use to light up the night is colossal. While lighting is needed, there are some simple things we can do to ensure that it's neighborhood-friendly, energy-efficient, and helps preserve dark skies. We can replace light fixtures that send light up to the sky with ones that direct light down, exactly where we want it. They're called fully shielded fixtures. We can also illuminate only the places that need it. And of course, we can just turn off unnecessary lights. These are smart ways to use lighting. They offer simple solutions to problems caused by light pollution. We have a choice between wasting resources by sending light to the sky or learning to use light more responsibly. Light pollution is a problem each of us can help solve. Together, we can bring back the dark of night to planet Earth.
Okay. So long story short, this is a real simple fix. It's a significant problem, especially recently now that we're introducing LEDs. We're no longer using the sodium lights that we have been using historically. I don't know where the county is with respect to moving to LEDs. I expect that you're doing that if you haven't already. And you want to do that because, of course, we save money. But because of that, you're also introducing significantly more intrusive light pollution to not just your property and your wildlife here, but of course, everybody else that is exposed to your lights at night. I don't know to what extent the county controls lighting here and where all your fixtures are, but again, it's a real simple fix. You can see this next slide, how much our light pollution has increased dramatically. And that is especially true with the LED lights. So what we want to try to do is use a different bulb. I don't know what bulbs you're using now, but you want to use a bulb that basically has a 2700 Kelvin. Unfortunately, you're probably using something that's more about 4,000 or 5,000 Kelvin, which is too bad. But that's probably because you didn't know that you had different choices. This is a 5,000 Kelvin bulb, fully shielded right now. Not fully shielded. Or the right way. It's blue light. It's upstairs. You're only exposing, of course, all of us to that light. Exposing it this way, you're exposing us all to glare and more wasted. This is 2,700 Kelvin bulb. Right? You won't really. This is 2,000 Kelvin. It's blue light. 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 It's blue light difference. All the blue light removes all the hazardous light that is basically that light shielded. Want to be aware of what type of bulb we're using. Want to reduce our lumens. So if you buy a typical bulb, you're gonna be looking for watts generally, okay? Buy a bulb. We're gonna be looking for watts. So you'll want a soft white bulb if you're doing this at home, which is 2700 Kelvin. And you're gonna want lumens that are 450 or less. That's basically a 40-watt bulb. This is a daylight bulb. It's basically mimicking the sun. My hunch is you've probably got that bulb everywhere here on your properties, if you've already changed to LED. Not a good bulb for night, not a good bulb for outdoors. And of course, the lumens can be horrible too. I see outside you've got some old fixtures. Those fixtures are just shining the light out and up. You want fixtures that shine that light down. So what you have, I hope, is you have this handout, which is basically a technological explanation of what LEDs are and how we can best address our lighting. In addition to the choice of bulb, the 2700 with fewer lumens, i.e. fewer watts, we want to, of course, shield it. And when we can, let's dim it. Let's turn it down at night. We can do that. We can also have timers and turn that light off at night. And let's be aware of those places where we don't even need lights. There's a lot of different reasons why this is important. I hope you have a chance to look through the PowerPoint on your own. And I do have some literature here if you'd like to read it.
And that
So-
packet is attached inside the agenda packet that the one he just held up.
Yeah. So anyway, I hope that helps. I did this quickly. Hopefully you'll have me back, and certainly I can offer some more explanations if you have some questions.
Thank you, Mr. Cruiser. That was an excellent presentation, excellent video. Anybody have questions or comments about the video or any about the light bulbs? Okay, well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and I'll get that information to you as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. You have handouts for everybody or?
I do. I have my card and I have 3 handouts.
Okay. We'll take them. We can make more copies then. Okay, thank you for joining us today.
Presentation.
Sure.
Sorry.
I'm waiting for you. Okay, next we have recycling and solid waste. Jennifer?
Thank you. All right. So go ahead and go to the next slide. I guess you're going to advance them for me. Thank you for doing that. So the solid waste plan you've heard about for the last several months is now at a final draft stage. And today is the day that we open the public comment period, a 45-day public comment period, starting today and ending the 26th of October. And then here's the rest of the scheduled timeline. At our next E&E meeting, we'll do the public hearing, and anyone who wants to has been invited to attend that meeting in person and make comment verbally if they wish. They can also submit that via email or by postal mail. I've done a press release that's gone out, that will go out to all media after this meeting, as well as all of the stakeholders. Go to the next slide. This is part of the press release, has this information in it, which I've just said. And then next slide. here's the invitation to comment. We're looking for public comment for the actions in the plan and input on community impacts and ideas for minimizing waste and maximizing diversion. And really, we want people out there in the community to be looking at this plan in regards to how it intersects with their own activities and initiatives in the community. And if anything's missing, to comment on that, or if there's things that are going to be particularly burdensome to them, comment on that. So that's what we're inviting. It will, as I said, be sent out to all my email contacts of nonprofit organizations and all of the green groups and the haulers and the municipalities and the townships and the solid waste districts, and all department heads of the county. I'm missing a few, but it's going out far and wide. We will take all comments received into account and consider. That would be our department, Jody and myself, and the consultant. We will take everything into consideration, see if it can be incorporated into the plan itself in some way, or if that's appropriate. And otherwise, I'm hoping for a lot of comments. And in any case, all of them will be included in the Appendix D of the plan verbatim. And we'll just print all the public comments as they are received, unless it's specifically requested that people don't want it printed in there, then we don't need to do that. But I'm hoping that maybe, a community member will say, hey, I think it's a really great idea to save all your bread ties and do this with it, like all those little things that may not, have bearing in the larger plan, but are great ideas and that can be included for people to have a look at and consider. So next slide. Yep, so there's a link in your agenda to it. It's also going to be in the press release that I'll be sending out, and you all are on that list. I prepared it this morning already, my 2 box, so I'll just hit send. And oh yeah, here's that list I was just saying about. But please, yeah, I know you've all had a little bit of a sneak preview last month. It hasn't changed a lot since then. There was just a few additional things that we added in or corrected, but please have a look and make your own comments as well. Next slide. There's all the ways that you can return your comments. Next slide. And then here's all the links to all the old plans and the current draft. Next slide. I think that's it. So short and sweet, but have at it.
Okay. Any discussion, any questions or comments? All right, thank you, Jennifer. And we'll go on to your recycling events.
Right, and I don't have any slides for that. I just have wanted to mention that tomorrow is an event, and that's from 8 to noon at 540 South Randall. We'll be doing electronics, clothing, and books. And so please all do your little Sundance for us this evening and hope it's not raining like this tomorrow. I think it's going to be, but as long as there's no lightning, the show will go on. And then the next event after that is October 10th. And that one we're doing electronics, clothes, and books and paint. And so we're doing paint again that event. And then the final event of the year will be November 14th, electronics, clothes, and books. And then we do have a tentative schedule for 2021. We have not yet posted it on the website. We're still just making sure that we've got all our ducks in a row with all of the different vendors that serve at the events. But we do have 3 document shredding events scheduled for next year in April, June, and October. Not on the same day as our electronics events. They're going to be on the 4th Saturdays of those months, just to make it easier for the traffic, to not have to wade through all those other stations to get to the shredding. And we have 3 to 4 trucks for each of those events, which is plenty. So provided the safety protocol restrictions that are prohibiting us from doing shredding this year will be a little bit less next year. Like the main thing is that if we're wearing masks, if we can just be closer together than 6 feet and I can have 3 or 4 people unloading each car, then it'll be fine. That's the problem this year. That's the glitch with trying to do these events this year, is just the speed and the volume of people I need in a small area to accomplish serving 1,000 cars in 4 hours. So I'm excited about that. Most people are very understanding of the fact that we're unable to do shredding this year and are looking forward to next year. And then we have 2 special events next year, which are June 5th and for hazardous waste in Aurora. That's the makeup for this year that got canceled in spring. And then November 6th, pumpkin composting. Oh, and we're doing pumpkin composting this year. I'm sorry. I did mention that before maybe, but on the 7th of
You
November.
passed that out last month, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that'll be an ongoing thing. People love that. So,
Mhm.
and I do have one printed copy if anyone wants it of the draft too. Just FYI. Thanks for the time.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. All right, we'll move on to 5. Jody, we have a resolution approving fiscal year 21 operations and maintenance agreement for USGS stream and rainfall gauges.
Is it in the packet?
Yes. Yep.
Is
There
that
we
it?
go. Thank you.
It's just farther down. Okay. It doesn't have indexes.
We have one resolution before you this morning for our USGS gauges for the 2021 operation and maintenance agreement. Next slide. So we have 5 long-term gauges that are installed on the Fox River in Kane County here. Actually, one Tyler Creek, one Fearson Creek, one Mill Creek, one Fox River, and one Blackberry Creek. These stream gauges regulate and determine the gauge height, so the height of the water in the stream, as well as the discharge, which is typically shown in cubic feet per second. Next slide. These gauges are important to the county for planning and changes in our rainfall amounts. They're used by modelers in determining flood elevations and predicting drought and flood conditions along our streams and rivers. And they are constantly collecting data to determine long-term trends. And we have a very long history with all these gauges. This system also supports our NPDS and MS4, which is an IEPA mandated program. I just want to mention that the funding for our NPDS gauges comes from the Riverboat. As you're aware, the Riverboat funds were reduced this year. So Jessica Mino was able to negotiate a one-time decrease in the contract with USGS in the amount of $56,439. USGS did say they are giving us this one-time discount for the FY 2021 budget period, but however, the rate would go back up to $63,000 next year. So if there is insufficient funding coming from the Riverboat next year, being 2022, we will have to either drop one of the gauges or reduce this program, which with the long-term data, it would be a real shame to have a gap in our data for the program. So I just wanted to point that out as we move forward. We are very fortunate that USGS was able to work with us this year. So I would ask for approval of this resolution for the contract with USGS for our 5 stream gauges in the amount of $56,439. Thank you.
Okay, motion made by Deborah to move this on to finance and budget, and I need a second.
Seconded by Barrero.
Second by Teresa Barrero. Thank you, Teresa. Any discussion or comments? Brett?
I'm not sure quite how to negotiate with the Riverboat Committee. It's just very difficult. Sorry, didn't mean to bang the thing. The knee-jerk reaction is just to take all of the grants that are asked for and just try and cut pieces out of them. And sometimes when you cut a piece out, you just, like Jody just said, you'd have to give up one of your sample locations, which is just, of course you can do that, but why? Why would you want to? It's reasonable that our experts have put together a program that works, where we get the data that we need, and I think we just need to be aware of what these programs do and try and protect their integrity. I'm just venting.
Mhm. right, thank you, Deborah. Anybody else? Any comments from anybody? Okay, roll call, please.
Weber,
Yes.
Allen,
Aye.
Guerrero,
Guerrero, yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Winnicke.
Yes. Okay, the next resolution.
Thank you. We have the draft, very exciting, the draft of the green building policy. I want to just, before I get into this, mention our appreciation for Jessica Mino's hard work on this policy. It is coming before you today as a draft, so we would request that it be tabled after the discussion, so we can make modifications as necessary, because this is the first time you're seeing it. So I wanted to go through kind of the guts of it, and then just kind of open it up for discussion. So I have a bit of a PowerPoint presentation. Blair, if you could pull that up. And I can go through, I know it's a lot of words. We have a draft resolution as well as the draft policy. The policy, I think we're going to modify the format a little bit about once we get into the details and make any kind of edits that we'd like to make. And have that in a little bit different of a form, because it gives a lot of background as to the green building policy. So it's a little bit more streamlined, but we wanted to give you kind of the background just to start off as a discussion point. So why is it important? The committee requested that Jessica research this, and it is important because buildings do contribute the largest amount of greenhouse gases emissions in Kane County. With green building, the interior environmental quality is improved for employees. It's also a wise use of resources, and green buildings save the owner money in energy costs by reducing the operating expenses and savings in utility bills. Next slide. So what are the key recommendations in this draft policy? The key recommendations include new and renovated buildings owned by Kane County that they meet the LEED rating system to achieve at least 8 points in the energy performance standards. And the reason this is important is because this is the surest way of realizing significant operation costs in the long term. So if you can reduce the energy needs of the building, then the county will see those funds come back to them as a reduced energy costs through the life cycle of that building. The expectation is that the green building policy would potentially increase the capital cost of the project by around 2%. So if we look at like the multi-use facility, what you're initially investing is going to go up by 2%. But for every dollar that's invested, you'll have a $10 return on that investment over the life cycle of the building. Next slide, please. So the policy, as it is in draft form, has the new construction for the county being a silver rated or higher. Renovations where the cost is greater than 50% of the replacement cost of a building would also be rated at a minimum of a silver or higher rating under LEED. And renovations where the construction cost is less than 50%, but greater than 1 million would be certified. So anything under $1 million would not follow under this policy. Next slide, please. So how would it work? The project team that would be hired by the county, typically an architect, would develop a scorecard for the project. This would include the life cycle costs of the project. So it would show you both the capital costs as well as the long-term costs of the building. At the 30% design, they would come before the E&E committee and review that scorecard and the points that the project is expected to achieve for an approval from this committee. The scorecard would then be verified at project completion, and the policy would recommend that departments within the county who hire or employ individuals with LEED qualifications can manage the project within their own department. So while the Water Resource Environmental Department would be kind of the overarching keeper of the county's lead information, under the policy that would allow for building management or KDOT or any one of our facilities to actually manage the lead scorecard of the project. So we wouldn't necessarily be involved except for as a technical resource for them. We would be tracking and monitoring on a county-wide basis and providing the technical assistance through the process for the green practice recommendations for minor projects throughout the county. Next slide, please. So we reached out to some of the other departments with the draft of the policy, and some of the concerns were brought forth to us for discussion today with the committee here would be who is funding those upfront costs. So that 2% that you're going to pay right out of the gate, who pays for that? And who is paying for any kind of training and certification that goes on? And what if the cost is unreasonable? We have some very old buildings here on our campuses. And so what if you get to the point where you, in order to obtain that LEED silver certification, the cost is not reasonable. And when they go through that scorecard, it's not in a reasonable amount of time that the county would gain back those funds. So next slide, please. I did do a little research specifically with the policy in the state of Illinois. There is a great link I have up in there in orange if you'd like to go to it. It has all the LEED certified buildings that the state of Illinois has done over a number of recent years. The interesting thing I found in there, their policy differs a little bit from what our proposed policy is. It's a little bit more strict. So for their renovations, they're required to meet the silver rating regardless of the size of the renovation. And so we're just at the point of being certified, not the silver rating. But it was interesting to see because it not only points out which projects were renovations, which we probably do more of than actually new construction, is that many of the state of Illinois' buildings actually exceeded what their minimum rating was. And so they were trying to get to a silver rating, and many of the buildings actually got to a gold rating. So that was interesting to see because they actually exceeded their own policy. So it kind of speaks to the ability to renovate an old building and still meet those LEED standards, even if you're just looking to meet the certified. I also included a clip of the waiver policy, which I think addresses some of the concerns that we heard from the other departments. This is a state of Illinois document and maybe a template that we could utilize for ours, which also goes through, it's an unreasonable financial burden on the county, that it's an unreasonable impediment to the construction. It would impair the primary function of the building, or it would compromise the historic nature of the structure. And so this provides kind of that backup that if you go through the numbers, you go through the scorecards, and the cost of meeting the silver or certified LEED goes well beyond what that 2% dollar figure would be, that this waiver form could be utilized. So currently we don't have any kind of waiver form like this in the policy, but I present it to you as kind of an example of something that we could add into the policy. Next slide, please. So we've provided, based on the policy, a draft resolution language, and I would just then open it up to questions and discussion as to concerns or edits, modifications that we'd like to see within the policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Jody. Okay, discussion. Deborah.
Jody, can I ask, did the, on that state website, did they tell you any specifics? Like, we did this building and here's what we did to it and here's why. And these were the approximate costs, and gee, we were surprised that we exceeded silver.
No, it did identify what building it was and the cost of the construction, and then whether it was a renovation or new, and then the LEED certification that they ultimately achieved that they were originally proposing versus what they achieved. So if we wanted to gain more information from some of those renovations, I'm sure I could contact somebody at the state and get that additional information.
Okay. But it wasn't just sitting there so that the novice could take a look and see what they did.
No, but I wondered if maybe because you have the project name at that point, that maybe a Google search might give you some additional project details, which I didn't go into that level of detail.
Any other discussion? Mr. Caius?
Well, this is very exciting and very involved. Appreciate all the work that you did on it to flesh it out, and also Jessica, I guess, when she set it up. And I had some of the same questions too, like where does the cost figure in? And I see this as a very exciting step. I know that we did almost the same thing when we did the multi-use facility, only it was sort of backwards. We went, well, we're going to build a building. And then we went, oh, well, how can we make it energy efficient? This just sets it up ahead of time. So this is what we're thinking about first. And the disclaimer or the exclusions identify whether it's actually practicable or not, so that we're not saying, well, you can't do it. There is a reasonable amount of give and take, but it's all ahead of the game so that when we're developing the building, we're not trying to catch up to get the energy efficiency. Do you know how this would affect the forest preserve buildings? This is countywide, so would this umbrella also go over the forest preserve buildings and things that we do?
It would not, unless the Forest Preserve passed a similar type of resolution.
Okay. Well, we'll have to work on them, won't we, those guys?
Right. Steve?
Obviously, the county, there's a lot of off-site office space that we lease, and we do, long-term leases. Obviously, they're not properties that we own, but I was wondering if maybe we could add something that says, like, before we sign a long-term lease, the person that we're leasing from, maybe if they could, have some kind of a program or make sure that we try to get into a building or facility that is efficient, because overall, if we're using that space, it'd be good to kind of have, something that says, the building has to have LEDs or motion sensor lights. I don't know. I'm just, spitballing here.
Comment. Yeah. Excellent. Go ahead, Deborah.
Just in response to Chris, at least the last two buildings the Forest Preserve has built have geothermal, and I don't know about solar, but I think they were thinking there's plenty of land and they're not going anywhere, so they went in that direction on their own. I'm not sure quite how to throw this in here, but I talked with Jessica a little bit that I wanted to somehow add some language that said, try not to make the same mistakes we made. When you're going to do a renovation of any kind, start from the position that you want to do geothermal and you want to do solar and anything else you can think of, so that the architects, the construction managers know that that's the direction that we're coming from. We brought this up at the weekly meetings we were having with the multi-use facility, and we were just beaten back. You can't afford that. Don't even bother us. You can't afford that. Well, maybe we can't, but we want it as an alternate that we can look at. That's what we're paying you for heaven's sakes. So I can't emphasize enough that every county board member and all of our staff need to say, this is our policy, this is where we start. And yeah, we may have to give in on some things, we'll see, but we start here so that it just needs to be embedded in us a little bit better.
Thank you,
Barb,
Yes.
this is Teresa. I agree with Deb. It's unfortunate, like with the new multi-use building that's going up. We tried to go back, obviously, and add some things, but they had already been rolling along on the plans and that. And I've been on the board 8 years, correct? And I always thought that, well, I didn't always, but I know that we had implemented these things that the buildings needed, that were required of the buildings going forward. And, you know, to have it be, oops, no, we don't have time for that. I thought they were already in our scheduling process when we take on a new building or when we go to build a new building. And it's unfortunate that that didn't occur. So hopefully this will help to make it a standard.
Thank you, Teresa. That's a good comment. I know we really tried with the multipurpose building, but it didn't seem to be going anywhere. Go ahead, Chris.
Sure, hopefully this will
Uh-huh.
or help solve that kind of problem. I know that the multi-use facility, when we started, we found out later that they actually have an architect on staff that was a LEED certified, which was even more tragic. It seems like that we didn't be able to start it. So hopefully, without making this a really negative thing, it's a positive thing. So we just have it lined up so that we are doing this thing. It's more of a carrot than it is a whip or a stick. And the promotional value for the county, I think, and the education value to have us be a leader in the LEED program is very exciting to me. 'Cause when they come to say, well, look at our buildings, here's an example of just how we're thinking about the future and how we're thinking about the next generation, generations beyond, and how this building is going to serve and also be very efficient. And as I read it, I believe it has in there that if we do have an architect, and that's one of the things we were planning, or that came up yesterday in administration, we're going to do a new, or we're going to be doing contracting for the new architect firms that work with us. If we have a new architect, we can include it in with that so that when we do hire an architectural firm that's on staff, that's one of the very first things that they look at.
There you go. So is that a qualification of the new architect, I think?
That's,
Yeah, go ahead, Deborah.
For what it's worth, the
Mhm.
number 2 guy on our team is LEED certified.
Ah,
He had those credentials, but somehow, the thing is that our staff has been forward-thinking from the get-go. The whole time I've been here, we've had staff, wonderful staff, who've said, here are things that you can do. You'll save money. It's good for the environment. You're a leader. It's worth doing. And so we said, absolutely. We've wrapped our arms around it, and when you go to, if you go to a green building seminar somewhere, down at the bottom, it'll say who the sponsors are, and there we will be one of the sponsors because we believe in this stuff. But when the rubber hits the road, we just got bullied. And I think that a lot of that is just the board members who were there somehow didn't have including me, didn't have the I don't know, the audacity to say, you have to back down. This is a program that we want to try and do. And sure, it's going to cost money, but we need to be educated on this, and you're the people to do it. And that's why we hire you. And I want
love the word bullied, Deb. That was exactly what happened.
I want us to be bullies on this subject.
yeah.
I want us to be very positive. I want this to be as something that's, instead of having to worry about being bullied or having to say that, oh, we have to get it in, it'll be just part of the flow of the whole thing and very, very positive thing for our future.
Right,
I
it needs to be a
noticed
process, correct.
In the language, it also says that as to the education and who's going to pay for it, if we have a company or I'll try and quote this right, somewhere in there it says that if whoever's developing the building has the training, then the committee isn't saying yes or no. They're just, whoever's doing the designing has then the authority to say, okay, this is what it would take to be a silver, and they just run it by us. They'll already have it set up. So when we do go back to an architect and they're set up, they just say, yeah, here's what it's going to do, and here's, you guys just have a look at it. And if they're LEED certified, we should be able to say,
Mhm.
yeah, great. And we don't have to worry about a lot of training on our end of it. The architect and the people that are designing should be able to be the ones that say, here's what we're presenting to you, because getting to be an expert in a lot of things is
Mhm.
impossible for me.
Um,
Positive.
Wonder if we could incorporate the dark skies ordinance into, or bring that somehow into the resolution for the green building policy.
I would
That-
have to
that-
check if that's, do you know, Jen, if that's
That
one
would
of the
be,
lead parameters?
I would guess it's already in.
I would think it's part of the lead program already.
Okay, okay. So this will be our new guideline. I think it's very exciting. And, I think it's difficult sometimes for architects and engineers and all to change their routines. It's easier to move ahead on projects that they've somewhat done before. There might be a few changes, but I even see that with home building. It's hard to get them to kind of think about solar or geothermal or dark skies. So yeah, this is really a wonderful opportunity, Jody.
It's like bending the arc. You've got to bend the arc on it. And this is not to put down, I'm so excited that we got the multi-use facility
Oh, definitely.
going, and it really is a wonder. It's set up for solar energy, and Ricky and the staff have done a wonderful job of making sure that that thing got done, and all of the work that went into it is amazing. Would just be something that we would think of ahead of time that would just fit in with as the flow goes, hopefully.
Mhm.
It's not a matter of, nobody did a bad job on the ones we've done thus far. It's just, this would be a step in the way, along the way.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I wonder if sending this out for comments to the entire board just via email or something, because there's been some really good feedback today, and there might be other board members that would like to contribute before we move it ahead.
I think that's a great idea. I
Yeah.
can take into account some of these suggestions that were made about making sure that it's clear that when we go out for an RFQ for architects, that there's the qualifications of being LEED certified. I can look into the lease information and see if there's any way to incorporate that, or maybe that's better as a standalone type of document, because it does apply to maybe a different set of people as opposed to the building management group and the other people constructing buildings and renovating buildings within the county. So let me do some of that. And then our intent would be then to come back with a revised version in October to this committee. And then after it goes to this committee, it would go to admin for comments.
Mhm. Excellent. And if you have any more thoughts or ideas, feel free to email them to Jody. Go ahead, Chris.
Great, yeah. I
Yeah.
just wondered, Mr. Sparks is back here. Does this, can I ask a question? Does this, the dark sky fit in with your energy? Because he's a forward thinker as well. He's got the
Sure.
program going for the
Uh-huh.
energy efficiency with, I believe, is a budget of 150,000 a year to make it energy efficient. How does or does it fit in with the dark sky and the,
From what I heard during the presentation, some of the things that he's spoke about, we're already doing. It was delayed for a year, if you remember, from the administration committee. We were put on hold for about 9 months as there was debate as to who had ownership of energy efficiency within our facilities. So we have restarted our LED program that we're doing. We do have motion detection devices in various facilities, and we do have a budget in our capital budget for $150,000 that we utilize on an annual basis to try to get more energy efficient.
in the shaded lanterns and the type of fixtures and things that we're putting in or replacing or compatible, or are we thinking in those
Well,
directions?
we haven't started moving in that area. We're working internal right now for interior areas right now, and then we will move to the outside, to exterior lighting areas. So we did do some in some of the judicial parking lots where we have replaced it, some of the lights with LEDs, and we'll continue to do that as a budget allows. One other thing in terms of a new architect and engineering firm, we plan to send that out, as you know, from the administration committee sometime in January. And that is one of the requirements that we decided that we're going to select two to have available for us. And those two will be required to have LEED certification. So our current vendor does have LEED certification as well.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you, Ricky. Yep. Any other comments? It's good discussion. All right, then I'll entertain a motion to table for 30 days. Moved by Steve, second by Chris. Any other discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Weber,
Yes.
Allen,
Aye.
Ferrero,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Winnicke.
Yes. Thank you. No new business. I don't think there's any public comment. I'll entertain a motion to put the reports on file. Moved by Deborah, second by Mr. Caius. Roll call.
Weber,
Yes.
Allen,
Aye.
Ferrero,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Caius, Sanchez,
Yes.
Yes.
Winnicke.
Yes. Okay, no need for executive session and a motion to adjourn. Moved by Mr. Caius, second by Deborah Allen. You do all in favor on that one? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you very much.
Aye.
For those of you that are on the Jobs Committee coming up next, we're going to switch seats and we'll get started in just a couple minutes. But you can stay on the conference call with Zoom.
Jennifer, I need you for a second here. Ah.
Thank you, Roger and Blair. That was, yeah.
Excellent, Mr. Weber.
Yes.